Hi, this is Dave Chenault with Skylight Systems, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can build reports using list settings that are built into SharePoint. Specifically, we're going to look at spread values and build a nice report based on some raw data that's in a list in SharePoint. And this will show you the power of using lists and ways that you can modify and customize it to meet your needs. So let's take a step back and look at what we're going to modify, and then we'll go ahead and do the modifications, and I'll summarize how we did that. So here's the basic idea. We have an opportunity, and in the opportunity, we have the capability to spread values over a period of months. If I look at the end result, I can see that I've got a report that shows me the total of all the spread values. This is sort of my pipeline report. And then it's going to show me for each month by each salesperson how much is being spread in each of those months. And if we take a look now at just the raw data that's in the system, notice first thing I did was I clicked on the three dots there. I'll look at all items. And this is how the raw data looks when it's stored in Sidekick. There are some more columns, but you get the basic idea. We've got a salesperson, a date, count, opportunity, amount, and the status, meaning is this a deal that's going to close or not? And you can see there's not a lot of data, but it's okay for the purposes of our demo here. So again, take a look. Here's your raw data, and it ends up looking like this report here. It'll take just a moment. Okay. So what we're going to do is take a look at how this report was built. What did I have to do to make this, break these down by month, and also do the separation by the report of the salesperson and a subtotal on each. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is I'm going to go in to the settings for this list, because one thing I wanted to do was add in a calculated column for this report. So a few things. If you're just going to build some reports and use calculated columns, you can go ahead and do that right in the SharePoint interface. But if you need to change screens where you're doing things around, let's say, an account, and you wanted to add in some more information about that account, maybe a region, or maybe you want to add in maybe something like the number one product they sell or something like that. Let's go in and take a look at an account screen. And if you wanted to add in a new field on the detail, the trick is, how would you get that value to show up on the screen here that we're looking at? And we have a tool for that. It's called XRM Manager, and we do that with HTML and JavaScript, and we have a way to map all the data, etc. But that's a different topic. What I'm talking about here is I wanted to just add in a column in a simple list that we have called spread, and I wanted to use that for building a nice report. And so in that case, since I'm not going to be changing any of the detail screens, I can actually go ahead and add in a column right away. Let's see how to do that. So if I click on any of these areas here and I get the little check mark, I can see that the list shows up. And when I do the list, I can go to Modify View. See how the ribbon opens up here. Now here's the trick. When I go into Modify View, and I'm going to do this with a warning here. If you break it, you bought it. So my advice to you is give us a call. We'll help you do some of these things, but I do want to show you how we do this. So if I hit the word settings, now something magical happens. We're able to get to the list settings, and I can add in a column. I can just say create column if I wanted to, and I could create a calculated column. Now that's what I did here on month of, and let's go back and take a look at that. So I'll just wait for it here to back up. And if I scroll down to month of, which I just saw it a minute ago, where did it run off to here? Here it is. What you're going to see is that it actually is a calculated field, and it has this tricky little formula in it. And let's take a look at that formula. It's an interesting formula because it's a nice trick. what it does is it takes the text and of the date. So this is the date of the spread, right? So I'm going to say this spread value is going to be a certain day in a month. And I'm taking it over several months. So I'm looking at each one of these. And I take the date and I format it to be year, 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 year. And then I add in a repeating space. And it's a little tricky here, but I just take 13 minus the month of the date, and I give it that many spaces in front. And then I add in the text for the date, month, 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 month. Okay, so if you just take a look at this formula, what I've done is I've taken the text, the date, year, 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 and then I put in some spaces, and then I put in the text of the month, month, month. Okay, and so when I do that, it's pretty interesting what this does for me. This is a nice little trick to get to know here. Let's go back and take a look here. So I'm going to put that month of column into my simple list view. So let's go back. And I'm going to go into the settings. And I'm going to add in the month of view in my raw data settings. So let's go back there and take a look. So I click here, go to all items, go and add in month of. So I'm going to modify my view. And this is the beautiful thing about using SharePoint as the foundation. All this is available to us. So there's my month of. And I say OK. And let's take a look at what value it puts in. So there's the value, 2016, 2017. And you can't see it really, but there's a lot of spaces here that are kind of hidden. Right? It doesn't necessarily display it, but they're in there. And the reason I did all that is because it will sort it correctly. And right now, if I went in there and said sort by, right? So we'll go in here to the modify this view. And I'm going to sort by the month of. So if I scroll down here and I have my sort by month of, and I say that I want to do it in descending order. Oops. Let's go on down here and take a look at that. And it is sorting properly, where May is the sort of the one farthest out, right? Then March, February, January, etc. If I didn't have those spaces in here, it wouldn't sort properly because it would do it alphabetically. And so March might show up out of order of February, etc., January. So that little trick that I showed you, it's kind of a nice trick, is this formula here. Put it in a date that is a text field. It's converting the actual date and just getting the month of the year and throwing in all those spaces so it sorts properly. So, okay, we've put in that field. I added that field with that calculation. What else did I do? So the other thing I did is I did a group by and a total. So let's take a look at that. Let's go modify view. And let's scroll down here. Now, interesting thing is if you go in and use a group by, it's going to override the sort. So let's look at the group by. So you can see what I did here. I did a group by month of, and then a group by salesperson within that month. And then in the totals, I went ahead and I just picked amount with sum. You could do standard deviation, minimum count, blah, blah, you see. But I'll leave it at sum. And I say OK. And when I do that, it builds this nice report for us where everything is sorted properly. And I'm getting month totals. Now you're probably wondering, why did I do all this work around the calculated field? Well, if I didn't do that, if I just said group it by the date, what if the spread value was on a different day within the month? Let's say you had some were the 23rd, some of the 15th, some of the 3rd in August. Then you would have a subtotal by each of those dates, not by the month. So what I did is I extracted out the month and the year. I have the year first, so it sorts properly. Then I have the month with those leading spaces, depending upon the month it is. And now everything sorts chronologically correct, even though it's a text field, because of that little trick of putting in the spaces that are leading. And then you take 13 minus the month of the date, and that'll give you the proper number of spaces. For example, January would have a lot of spaces. And the way the sort works is a space is considered early in the sort order. So the more spaces you have, the earlier it's going to show up. That's why it works. January, February, March, etc. You get the idea. So this is just a kind of a quick summary of showing you how you can use lists and calculated fields and add in a few fields. If you wanted to build some custom reports, it's pretty wide open. And that's what I'm showing here of how we built the spread report, showing you monthly totals by salesperson of the pipeline of opportunities. And just to recap, let's take a look at that ABC lock and key with the Yale locks in it. So we'll do that. It'll just be a minute here. And if I just do a quick sort, I guess I can do it right here. It's nice and easy. And I'll click on that guy just to show you the spread values within this opportunity and what we're talking about. So I'm bringing it up here. It'll be just a moment. And if you look down here in spread, you'll see how we push this over 3 months. And those are the values we're reporting on. If I change this to August 15th, it would still show up in the entry for August because I'm doing that little trick that I showed you in the calculated field. Okay, I think I've labored this point long enough, but I wanted to spend a little time and show you how you can build very powerful reports. And everything is wide open to you. Just be careful about adding fields. If you want to display fields in screens and those kind of things, then it's important that you add those using the manager. And we can give you some guidance if you have any questions. We're happy to work with you on that. So again, if you have any questions, just email us at info@skylightsystems.com, and that's SKYLITESYSTEMS.com. This is Dave Chenault. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you listening and hope you learned something.